The focus for today's conversation is about creating a user research plan. All right. This is a very important thing to talk about because everything that we do is about users, and it's an important aspect of product development that is often ignored by a lot of organizations just because they don't really have clarity about how to go about it or what it is they need to do. Interestingly, user research, today. Interestingly, user research has become important because in the recent years, because of, Agile has brought it to the forefront. The principles of agility talk about collaborating with users as a product development team. It talks about involving your users in your development life cycle, which is what we refer to as iterations or cadences, or we call it sprints in Scrum and whatnot. But basically what that is essentially is us doing something with an idea and involving our users, the users of our solution, or the potential, let me say potential users of our application, to have an opportunity to see how the idea is evolving into a product or a service right in front of their eyes. And that's as far as many organizations go, basically. But user research actually takes it a little bit more further than that. And user research thinks about this from the angle of before we actually start thinking about, we want to build this solution, I want to solve this problem, can we do some digging to actually understand whether there's a problem here in the first place before we start spending or investing time and effort to actually get into it. So we're going to discuss why user research matters in a moment. I want all of us to contribute to that conversation. Then I've put together like a very, very high level talking point around how to define research goals and how to define research questions, how to identify the users that you need for research, and then about choosing the right method of research, right? It's super important because if you have a good research objective, you have the good research questions, your user research goals are well documented and defined, but your research method is flawed, the outcome is going to be flawed, because it's like saying you are taking a square peg and trying to fit it into round holes. It's not going to work. So everything has to be well thought through from the beginning. When it comes to user research, many of us, or most of us, we do research academically when maybe you're doing uni degree or dissertation or something like that. You have to do some sort of research where you focus on maybe a particular or a specific problem area or topical issue or a specific phenomenon, and you want to expand on it, and you are given some guidance as to how to go about the research, and you have to even explain the basis, the rationale behind the research method, the research plan, activity, and all that type of stuff. Now, this conversation today is not anything near or even mirroring academic research, but we can borrow a lot of ideas and whatnot from the academic research. I guess the key thing to focus on here is the research we're talking about here is about understanding our users, our customers. What problems do they have? What pains do they have? And all that type of stuff. So we'll talk about the research method in a moment as well. And then I probably will show you some examples of research plan that I have been privileged to contribute to or work on in the past. And then I think that will be the, oh, hang on, actually, you know what? There's something else I wanted to share with. So I put together some resources here. Actually, this is a good one. So in here, I'm going to show you some of this in the call, but instead of trying to figure out your way or trying to look for the pages and whatnot, I will use this resources as we'll use them as talking point in our conversation this evening or this afternoon, and then I will probably share this with you guys so that all these links you can just follow them at your own time if you really want to understand a bit more about user research. Now, I think everybody. So let me move back to my original slide, which is, oh, I've closed the slide. Sorry, bear with me. Yeah, there we go. So this is my original slide. So let's start with why user research matters, right? As you can see my screen, like I said, a lot of resources are pulled together, are all here anyway. So don't worry, don't try and see if you can get the link or whatnot. In the United Kingdom and even globally, a lot of organizations, including, especially the public sector organizations, have now got a digital transformation agenda. Yeah, whether they're living up to the true tenets of digital transformation or not, that's a different conversation, right? But in fact, in the UK, there's a 10-year digital transformation agenda that every citizen-facing service in the UK must be digitized. So that is why, for example, in your when you want to apply for your driver's license, you can now do it digitally. If you want to pay your council tax, you can do that digitally. You want to, file for your tax returns, you can do that digitally. You want to submit your company accounts, you can do that. So everything that you do, the plan is to have them digitally enabled. Now, this introduces an array of problems because let's use the government or public services, for example. So let me go to, in the UK, there's, if you can see my screen, one of the leading, in fact, not one of the major leading body or portal or organization that is leading the digital transformation agenda for the United Kingdom, for example, is what we refer to as the Government Digital Service, GDS, popularly known as GDS. Now, these guys they are the ones that designed websites like gov.uk, where you do a lot of the things that you want to do with the government, whether it's to DVLA, whether it's to HMRC, whether it's to, what else do you do with government? Whether it's to import something and pay your taxes, whether it's to register your child for school or apply for a school place for your children, whether it's to claim benefits or whether it's to pay, whatever you do with it, that's government public sector based as a citizen, they have designed this service and they have a mandate working with all government parastatals across the United Kingdom to ensure that they adopt this framework and this technology solution for their services. Now, look at what they have done here. In the UK, for example, so let's just start from public sector citizen-facing services, right? They talk about the fact that you should plan user research, at the start of each development phase and regularly update your plan as you learn more about your users. Now, let's dial it back a bit. Let's talk about these users. Now, if we talk about users of a public-facing service or users of government service or citizens of United Kingdom who will be using and interfacing with a portal or a website to pay their tax or to buy land or to buy house or to, pay for or get their driver's license, whatever it is they're doing. Let's talk about those for a moment. Who do you think, when you say to learn more about those users, because the point we are looking at is the first one, which is why user research matters. And user research matters because we need to learn about our users before we start building or creating anything for them, right? So does anybody have an idea or anybody has any thoughts about when we talk about citizen-facing service, which is like your biggest type of user base, if you think about it? A company cannot solve everybody's, but the government has to solve everybody's problem. So I think let's start from the big one. Who has anything to share when it comes to understanding users who are utilizing a digital service created by the government? You have been hired as a product analyst or a developer or a product manager, a user researcher even, or performance delivery, whatever, and they ask you, our aim here is to simplify the way people pay or people claim benefits. Who are your users? What would come to your mind when it comes to coming up with an understanding of your users? Anybody wants to give a try? Or you can unmute your mics, please, guys. Like I said, we're gonna be gisting for the next half an hour thereabout. So there's no right or wrong answer, by the way. So don't think you have to sound very academic or this is just a conversation. So guys, I want to hear you, please. Let me know you're here. Who wants to try? What comes to your mind when it comes to when we say learning about users, and those users are citizens of a country like United Kingdom? What would come to your mind first? Yeah,
I have no specific answer for this, but like in my previous job as an SEO executive, I used to audit websites for improving their business performance online. So these were e-commerce stores, and in the cannabis industry, the health industry, the educational industry, these companies were from these industries. And one of my part was to improve the conversion rates of the websites, and that the more users and customers buy things and take the services. And for this, I used to collaborate with the UI UX developers. At the same time, we used to use website heat map tools to see where the customers used to interact with the website and where there were problems with drop-offs of the conversion rates of the websites. Yeah, this is one example of mine. I don't know if it answers the question a bit.
No, yeah, very good point. Very good point. So what you're doing there is very, very relevant. That's what I want to hear.
Yeah,
it's relevant in the sense that before you delve into trying to optimize or SEO, whatever it is you do there, you need to take a step back and say, let's first of all understand the behavior of people, right? The behavior of our users.
Yeah, so for us, for like me, the main thing was first the technical parts of the website, then always the behavior was the main thing to see, because the behavior is affected by the design of a website also.
Yes, correct.
So we have to optimize the website design according to the user journey and the customers and how they interact with the website.
Fantastic. Thank you. That's a very, very good point. So that's what we are saying, that it's about understanding your users, and understanding users is super, super important. You can't even solve a problem that you don't even understand the pain or the challenge that the people you are solving the problem for that they are having, right? I can see someone in the chat saying to start with the user need, understand their needs. Yeah. That's what we're talking about. Yes, Tolu, thank you. So let's delve a bit more about understanding needs. My next question around this will be, for this kind of service that is citizen facing, our scenario here, we are talking about a citizen facing website or system, right? What type of users are we looking at, or what type of users should we be considering when we are thinking about our user base? Examples, please. A citizen-facing service like maybe tax website or driver's license website. Anybody who cares to share?
I think our user base will be the people like, I'm just guessing like about
everything is a guess. I want to hear your guesses. Yeah.
So for tax and for license, I have a guess. It's about 18 years of age, and people who are working in any corporate industry or business, or people who even run their own startups and all.
Correct.
And these are the types of people who we will
that
target.
You have to think about. 100%. 100%. Thank you, Leonard. The other part I really want to actually highlight. Yeah, I don't know if you have anything to say, please unmute yourselves, guys. The other part we also want to highlight is that apart from the criteria, which is, okay, hang on, if we are talking about driver's license, then you have to be maybe 18 and above. So if you are below 18, you are out of our targets. When we talk about understanding and learning more about our users, you have to maybe have passed for example, your theory, whatever, is it theory to do it? Yeah, this theory and then practical. But there's one aspect that I really want to also highlight. When you are designing a service, right, there's an aspect that is super important, which is accessibility. It's part of understanding users. Because what if you have users who, for example, they can't read? Yeah. Users who can't read, or maybe they are disabled, or you have people who can't read because they are blind, or you have people who can't read because they don't even speak English. Yeah, but they have lived most of their life in the UK. They still can't read English. Yeah, how do you? Yeah, I can see age, occupation, geographical location. Yes, so those are the things that you need to understand. All right, this is lovely. Now let's dive in a bit. Now, Gov UK talks about, you can see here how to identify your user groups here. So this is their own template. If you find yourself in a government, let me say this for those who are, maybe you are job hunting, or you are interviewing, or you are maybe doing a project or whatnot. If you find yourself in the UK especially, or even in the US or Australia, I know this for a fact, that if you find yourself in a project or interview or job application where you need to talk about that is related to citizens, or any public service that is being designed or implemented or being rolled out or being backed up by a government body, please, guys, in the UK, please come to this website. It is called gov.uk, and come and search for, because there's a lot of work that these guys have put behind how to implement, how to roll out, how to test, how to launch a digital service that is government facing. Some of them, even a lot of services, even have to go through some sort of testing or some sort of assessment before they can be allowed to go live. I mean, I've been privileged to lead a lot of massive digital facing services for citizens in the UK, from the Ministry of Justice to even Parliament. I was talking to somebody last week, and I was Googling the work I did for, House of Lords and House of Commons around 2014-15, and that's still the website they are using till today. Understanding these things are super important, because that is what they'll be testing your knowledge around. So I just thought I'll drop that tip for you guys. So make sure, whether it doesn't have to be related. So if you look at this is a service manual, don't worry. I put the link in the slides that I'm going to share with you anyway. So don't worry about it. All right, let's move on. What I want to talk about next is around defining your research goals and your questions. A lot of people struggle around here because before you start delving into putting together your user research plan, it's very important to actually understand why are we here. So I think we're going to have a masterclass focused on workshops, because if there's anything that anybody that comes through, especially people that come through Join Momentum as an associate, if there's anything, the basic thing that a Join Momentum associate must be able to do is to run a workshop. To drive a workshop, you must, like, it's non-negotiable, right? And the reason why I'm saying this is because the world is going to be more remote and more remote in terms of ways of working. More remote jobs will be, more common, and your ability to pull people together in a remote way, in a remote format, knowing how to use the tools to facilitate a session, to drive a session, keep people engaged is more important. Your soft skills, communication skills, your negotiation skills, and all that stuff is big. It's going to be a big, really big deal. And those are things that AI cannot do for you. Am I making sense, guys? So we'll come back to that. But I'm saying this because now we are talking about defining this one here. We're talking about defining user research goals and your questions. These are essential steps that you have to follow in order for you to come up with a plan. Now, let's look at, I like these guys a lot, the way they've, Maze. Maze is really good. We use Maze a lot in Join Momentum for user research, usability testing, and whatnot. It's really great. Don't worry. If you've not come across it, you will come across it at some point in Join Momentum. But what I want to focus on is around identifying and defining problem statement and identifying your objectives, right? If you look at a quote here, they said, we do an exercise called, look at this. Can you guys see? We do an exercise called FOG. That's what they do. Yeah, this is their own suggestion, which stands for fact, observation, guess. And what we do there is to identify large gaps in knowledge. What they mean by that is that how much do we know? If you are part of a team and your mission or your goal is to put together a user research plan for your team or for your project, the first question you should be asking yourself to define a problem statement is to understand, number one, what are the facts that we have on ground? The fact is that, for example, if you are not more than 18 and above, you cannot apply or drive a car in the UK. That's a fact. Yeah. And you can identify what are facts that are established already. Fact, for example, is somebody has done something in this space before. Observation can then be, what are the things that we've observed or we can observe or we can see? They don't have to be facts. And then what are our guesses? What are things that assumptions? We assume people behave like this. We guess to do this. From what we are seeing, we are guessing this is what they are trying to achieve. And that will help you to understand the areas where you have gaps within your team, as in terms of knowledge, understanding of the problem that you're trying to solve. Now, here, they suggested a few things I really want to also look at. They said you can use different techniques to identify problem statements, like you can run things like stakeholder interviews. Now, you are seeing why I'm saying it's important that the ability or the core skill to drive workshops physically and remotely is super important. The gentleman called me, which day was it now? Today is Tuesday, right? I think it was Thursday last week or Friday. I can't remember. I think it was last week, Thursday or Wednesday. And he was struggling because he called me and said, oh, by the way, I need your help. I just need a couple of minutes for you to give me some pointers. We are trying to rebrand. He mentioned the name of the company. I'm not going to say it for confidential reasons. Big organization brand in Manchester. and it's just joined the team, and they want to do like a big rebrand of the company website, and they want to, and the company website is not just a website, it's a website that is powering a massive operation of a big organization in Manchester, right? And it was asking me and saying, Angan, I have been tasked to I've been tasked to drive or facilitate this workshop so that all the people that have a stake in the rebranding of the website project will have their voices heard. So we're talking about maybe people from finance. They have their own part of the website where people need to pay. They want to make sure that people are able to pay the correct amount of money. They want to make sure that people are able to, use the right link to make payments. They want to make sure that the money is going to the right account. Then you're talking about departments like procurement. Procurement to be looking at things like their supply chain service, and it's also connected to the website because their suppliers will come to the website to understand what they need and supply their equipment or their tools or their wares that they use. And then there's other departments like HR who will use part of the website for careers, for advertisement, for job vacancies, and carry out recruitment services. We're talking about other departments like engineering. Engineering will use the part of the website to list the kind of things they need so that the procurement team can make sure that the specification is right for the kind of things they need. Otherwise, there's going to be a problem, and so on. And so it kind of just is a massive, massive overhaul project that they are embarking on in that parastatal. And I asked him a simple question, and that's why I'm telling you this story. I asked him a simple question. I said, it really doesn't matter right now. You know what you're trying to achieve, so your objective is clear. But number one, who are the people coming to your workshop, that this workshop you want to design? How have you agreed or decided that it's going to be a workshop? How did it get to that point? I asked him those questions. And then I said, okay, now that you've agreed it's going to be a workshop, your stakeholders coming to this workshop, are they going to be with you in the same room in Manchester, or what's the plan, right? So from that conversation, those questions I asked him, we were able to figure out very quickly that, hang on, we have a problem here. If you're going to have maybe 20 people in the room, that's a big workshop, another 25 or 30 people who are heads of departments, directors, and big stakeholders who have, a big stake in this massive project. And those guys are going to be, they have to contribute, and they want to make sure that their contributions are registered and known, so that when the new designers are coming or when the new designs are coming, all these, their needs are factored into the new design and the new development that's going to happen, right? So basically, I said to him, how do you want to manage this? You've got a big problem here, and everybody's looking at you. So anyway, we managed to solve the problem. He came back and he was super excited. Gave him some tips. He was super excited about how the workshop went and how he was able to, get, in fact, all the people left feeling super, super, super happy, because that was what we prioritized. Like, it's so hard to get the attention of this kind of people into your meeting, and then you make them leave feeling like they've wasted their time. That is the last thing you want to happen, because that is the trust that you need to build first. You need to establish that trust first, so that next time you call them or you go to them and you have a conversation, they'll be like, oh, that is the guy we should be talking to. For this guy, I will leave everything I'm doing to go listen and give him anything he's asking for, because he's got our back, he's got our ears, he's doing the right things for us. And that was what he prioritized for the workshop. And it came back really, really well. He was so excited about it. Now, why I'm saying this story to you guys is, if you look at what we are talking about here, things like stakeholder interviews, team sessions, affinity mapping, analysis of customer feedback, all of these things are the things that will give you an idea of what a problem we are trying to solve is. because without understanding the problem, it's going to be so hard to then move forward into defining your objectives, right? Which is the next thing we're going to talk about here. I'm only taking these 2 points from Mace, but if you look at it, they have a big, like a huge chunk of material here for user research plan. They even have some templates, and we look at that in a moment. But then let's move on quickly to talking about objectives. And I would yield the mic to you guys for a few minutes. In terms of coming up with your objectives need to align with the strategy and the business goals, right? But you also want to define the specific targets, which we have already talked about. So if you are writing your research objectives, you have to be defining them as things that you want to achieve. For example, look at the examples here. Learn at what times users interact with our service. Understand why our users do not return to our website. Look at what Leonard said earlier, or why they do. Yeah. You can also do some sort of competitive analysis or product or services and say, what are they doing? What are they using that we are not, or we should be using? And then you want to uncover any pain points or challenges users find when using our product. You want to gauge their interest in our product, and then come up with a wish list or priority list of the things you want to do. So when you are setting objectives, these are some example questions you can ask. What are we going to do with this information? What decisions is going to inform? How are we going to leverage the insights that we get from this? Okay, so let's quickly have a conversation about these 2 things that I've just covered very quickly, which is defining your users, defining your goals and objective, and also identifying your target users. Has anybody been involved in any sort of activity that relates to, for example, identifying target users for research, and also maybe coming up with research objectives or strategy or whatnot? Anyone here? You care to share what you've been involved with at all? If no, that's okay. My next question will be, if you find yourself as a part of a team and your objective as a team is to come up with research goals and objectives, how would you go about it? What would you do? I've already said some of those things anyway, but I want to hear you guys. In your own scenario, what would you do? Anyone? Please, you can unmute yourselves, guys, and speak. I want to hear you speak. Anyone? Everybody's quiet. Am I assuming that no one here has been involved in research before? Even your academic research, you didn't do anything like this. You didn't do any research. Let me see who's on the call. Let me see. Or maybe people are just logged in. Maybe it's just ghost attendees that have in this meeting. Let's see who we have here. Temi Tokpe. Can you hear us? Are you there? Yael, are you there?
Yeah.
Please say hello if you're there. Oh, okay, you're there. Okay. So you're not a ghost attendee. Thank you. I know Leonard is there. Fumi. Oh, Fumi is here too. Okay. Hi, Fumi. Can you hear us? Hi, John. Okay.
I can hear you. Loud.
All right, so you're not a ghost attendee. Thank you. Motorayo.
I can hear you, Victor.
Okay, cool. John. Hey, John, how are you? Long time no speak. How are you doing? Let me see who else is here. Hanat. Oh, Hanat is here and she's quiet. Okay. Tolu is here. Adedolakbo. Okay. So you guys are all here. Wow. All right. I didn't know you guys sneaked in. Right. So if you, I can see you're here. Okay. I can hear you. Okay. Cool. All right. So let's, in the interest of time, let's quickly move. I want to talk about choosing research method. Because somebody already said in the chat, saying that I will use questionnaire. Right. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Okay. How do you inform, or how do you get to the decision about the research method to use? Anybody?
Can I speak?
Yeah, go for it, please.
Okay, so in my job, what I used to do was, in our initial meetings with the clients, we used to collect information of their business and I used to ask them what their business goals are. And initially, I used to ask them if they have their target market in any idea in mind. So based on that, we used to create this user personas, you can call them the customer persona.
Love it. Love that. Yes.
And we used to create sorry, I forgot the name. It's the it's the personas with the requirements of what
user needs.
Which the user needs.
Yes.
So I forgot the name of the thing, but it's based on the requirements of each user and their pain points.
Yeah.
So we used to align this thing with the requirements of the business, and this thing used to define the idea of the business and the slogan of the business and the main the brand image. And based on this, we used to we used to do targeted advertisements in Google Ads.
Yes.
And we used to test the persona, and based on the data in the future, we used to optimize the campaigns more.
Yeah.
At the same time, we used to use this in SEO as well.
Yes.
To research the keywords of what people would find and what they are looking for.
Okay.
Because all this was based on the requirements of the user and the pain points.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And this helped us to achieve the campaign objectives over the span of the year, coming years.
Yeah, and that alignment is exactly what I'm looking for. The other thing I want to quickly talk about is, when you are, so this is where we are. When you're talking about research methods, right? There are two things you have to consider, right? We have to consider what are the objectives of the research, which we talked about earlier. If the objective of the research is to understand, for example, how many users visit our site every day, right? Then you know that the kind of research method you would use in that type of scenario will be quantitative rather. Yeah. So you need to do quantitative research, meaning we want to understand how many people visit maybe in the middle of the night, and how many people visit during the day. Yeah. What is the footfall to our website? If you want to measure, for example, user behavior, meaning things like what page do they drop off, or what kind of things are they looking for? When do they hit? Where do they go the most? And what do they do when they get to that page? Then you have to be thinking about qualitative methods of research. Okay, so that's super important. Now, there's no right or wrong. However, if your user research method, right? If your user research method, let me go back to my slide for a moment. If your user research method doesn't quite align with the objectives of your research, you are going to have a problem, right? In the sense, what I'm saying is that if you have to carry out maybe what you're looking for is data, insight based on data, right? You want to measure performance, or you want to measure satisfaction rate. You want to measure, you want to do those things. They are things that you can use you have to use quantitative method for. But if you now go and use, for example, qualitative method to go and measure something that needs, numbers, or you need to count, or you need to, your insights or your research objectives or your research goals are already will be skewed. Am I making sense? So that's the big thing to take away from this, which is about choosing the right method of research. It's about understanding the research goals, objectives, who are we reaching out to, and then the method. The other thing about the method as well is that your research method should also factor in your users. Am I making sense? So imagine that you are doing research, but you are doing research for maybe NHS, and the NHS, maybe the department for people that have audio visual problems, right? And you are the user researcher. Sorry, that's an extreme use case, right? But you're the user researcher, and now you have to carry out research with these people. How would you go about that, right? You can't just say because it's quantitative I'm trying to do, or qualitative I'm trying to do, so any method I have. No, you have to find a method, even though qualitative or quantitative, that actually consider these people that you are trying to test or research with. Otherwise, you're not going to achieve your objectives and goals as well. All right. So that's the other thing I wanted to call out. Okay, looking at things in the chat. Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you, Tolu, for your comments. Depending on the goals, yes. Depending on the type of data you want to collect. Yes. Okay, good. So let's move on. Let me show you an example. In fact, you see these links here. There are examples of user research templates. So user research templates or user research plan templates are not really far-fetched. The one I like the most, I think, is user interviews. So if you look at what they've got here, let me see what they're, I don't think I've looked at their own, but it's actually, yeah, there you go. You can see it. This is a user research study plan, a template by this company. They'll have a lot of templates, by the way, if you're looking for resources. If you find yourself in a team where you need a lot of templates to carry out different types of research activities, user interviews have loads of templates and information that can help you get started without starting from scratch. So all you have to do is come here and you can go to Launch Kit. Yeah, don't worry, I'll come back to my page. You can see Launch Kit. So you can see here, user interview Launch Kit, qualitative usability testing Launch Kit, product market fit interview Launch Kit, diary study Launch Kit, continuous interview Launch Kit, and whatnot. So I've used them heavily a lot in the past. Quite good. And they have a product that you can use. I think that's what they're selling, really. Let me go back to where I was coming from. This is their product where they can help you find people for research. That's what they do, really. But anyway, so back to where I was coming from. Look at the template they've got. I like it. It talks about the what, the why, related company goals, the research goals. You can see there. The anticipated outcome. I don't see this a lot inside user research plans, but I like that they put it there because it sets the expectation. If you are working with a project manager who needs to see, or a product manager who needs to see you need to put together or see some sort of your plan for research for this particular project. And everybody should be doing this, by the way. It doesn't matter the stage of development you're in, you should always have research at the back of what you're doing. So I like the fact that they put this one here to say something like, this is what we anticipate, If it doesn't happen, fine. If it happens, fantastic. But at least it's a good way to set expectations, and keep everybody in the loop. So this is a good template to follow. And then it also describes the overall approach, the timeline that you should have. Let me show you an example of one I've done in the past as well. And then we can have a conversation about these other links I shared. So this is a long one, but I'll just show you the very top level. Long time ago, this was a project for the Department for Works and Pensions, for example. Don't worry, it's an old project, so I don't even think the project is still live. You can see here, we did something around the project background, maybe some more information there, the overall service objectives. Then we talked about the user research objectives so that it aligns with the overall service objectives. And then we talk about methodology available to us, which could be qualitative or quantitative. Yeah. Then we talk about the approach we want to take for research. Yeah. Then our approach is around who are the likely people, what are they trying to do, how are things done currently, what are their problems and their frustrations that they experience. This is a document that's actually signed off, by the way. So then the phase, if you're in discovery, how are we going to do it? You can see we captured what we're going to do in this potentially in discovery. Who are the people we are talking to? Internal users and external users. How do we recruit participants? Yeah. So we need to put that is in red because I don't think we had finalized that. So where are we getting research participants from? Then activity, this is the sample template of the plan. You can see here, this is a user research plan, for example. You can see this was done according to sprints. You can see sprint 1, sprint 0 to sprint 4. Each sprint could be maybe 1 week or 3 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever the sprint is. You can see the things they talk about here. We have to create discussion guides based on user research objectives. After we create discussion guide, we have to then kick off recruitment. The part that takes most time in research is participant recruitment. Finding people to participate in research is always the most difficult part, right? Then phase 1, you got to do maybe you're doing qualitative here, so it's interviews. A co-design workshop to analyze the insights, come up with ideas, do another one, do analysis, come up with a report or your findings from research and share with your team and play back to your team. So this is really good, simplified version of a user research plan. So that's what I wanted to show you guys. There's a lot of content on the slide, but essentially, this is where, I believe this is what you can work with your team to put together. Now, before we wrap up, and I'll take if anybody has questions, I need to find a way to share this with you guys. I don't know how to do that yet. Maybe I can upload it on the platform. You guys can download it because these resources are super useful. If you want to, maybe at your own time, you want to follow these links and see examples and save some of them, bookmark some of them. You never know when they'll come in handy. And yeah, you can always refer to them for your own work. Okay, so I will figure that out. I'll try and see if it's a way to figure that out. I'll figure it out. But let's bring the session to a close. Does anybody have anything you want to raise? Any questions? Anything you'd like me to discuss before we close the session? Please unmute yourselves and yeah, everybody has the mic. So please go ahead. Oh, I can see John. Go on, please.
Yeah. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How are you?
Okay. I'm fine. I just want to ask a question. Based on one of the points you mentioned, that it's difficult getting participants for user research, which I quite agree with. And we all fully know well that we would have to take decisions based on feedback, from the user research.
Yes.
Is there an acceptable number of participants that one must have. I'm trying to imagine if I have like a database of users of about probably maybe 2,000, and I did user research based on maybe just like 10 or 15 users. Would that be enough for me to make a decision on behavior of users based on just this small number? So I just want to know, is there a way I can just map like, okay, if I have this sample database of users, a certain percentage of these users must have been, taken through user research. I just want to find out.
Yeah, so that's a very good question. My answer is it depends, and I'll tell you I'll give you my my thoughts, and you can interpret it as it might fit your scenario. But the fact that you have, let's say you have 2,000, let's say you have 2,000 population size, you are not going to be able to research 2,000 people anyway. Yeah. So yes, always focus on a sample number of users to make a decision across board. However, this is where it is important that you understand your users and their groups or their personas very well. Now, out of the 2,000 people, let's say you have different types of users amongst them. You need to know, okay, out of 2,000 people, about 500 of them are disabled people. Okay? So therefore, if I research with 15 or 20 people, how many of those people represent that population of disabled and maybe digitally less whatever people? Does that make sense? So you have to, it's about understanding your user ecosystem. That's super important. That's number one. The second thing I would also say is that when it comes to research, participant recruitment rather, there are many ways, even though it's difficult, there are many ways to actually recruit participants that makes participant recruitment less difficult. I'll give you some examples, and this also depends on what you are dealing with and what you are looking at. If in your team you are struggling to get any of your users to maybe commit their time to come and research with you, and you want to get a bigger number of people, so that you are confident in the research output and insights, what you can do is you can incentivize some of your users. So that's one way. When I say incentivize, you can give them some sort of reward or some sort of acknowledgement or whatever it is for using their time to come and research. That will potentially increase your number of people that will come in and join you to participate in research. Another thing you can do is, if you're, depending on what you're doing, if you're doing things like research that is maybe quantitative or even qualitative, you can do things like unmoderated research. With unmoderated research, it means that a lot of them, for example, like a Wizard of Oz, you can do that remotely, and a lot of them can join those kind of research sessions without necessarily having to maybe leave their homes or leave their offices to contribute to your user research. The other one is, if you're doing qualitative, you can do things like surveys or questionnaires that won't take a lot of your time, so they are still able to share with you. Now, depending on your budget as well, you can go as far as also looking at agencies that specialize in recruiting for your type of users. So I'll give you an example. There are agencies specialized in helping organizations or product teams looking to recruit a set of people, a set of users in a particular domain. They will come in and they will help you to find those people because that is their area of specialization. So in your team, you might not have that capability. They will do that for you. But in terms of using the number of people to judge and make a decision overall, you want to make sure that you have covered every type of representation of your user base. if they are all the same, they are all, same sort of people, same sort of pain, same sort of persona, same sort of, which is unlikely, then if you do 15, I would say 15 is more than okay for 2,000 people. Right, yeah, it's okay. But it's unlikely because out of 2,000 people, somebody will be different. Out of 2,000 people, you probably have variety of different types of, so it's about understanding that variety and knowing that those variety, their needs are already captured within, whether it's 10, whether it's 15, whether it's 20, that you are actually able to use a research with. Does that make sense? Hope that answers your question, John, if you understand what I'm saying. So that confidence is about, have we fully represented everybody in our user ecosystem? That's the way I would look at it. Yeah. Okay, Doc. Any other question, ladies and gentlemen? It's 8 o'clock now. I was going to do this for 5 minutes, but I've enjoyed it. Talking for 1 hour. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Okay. Oh, there's one more. Fumi, please go for it.
Okay, Victor, thank you. Thanks for the teachings.
My pleasure.
I want to find out, do we do this research because we really don't know, we don't know our requirement, we don't know the requirements for the project, or we do the research because we don't know, we don't have a project yet, we just have an idea, and then we want to work from the answers to the question?
My answer will be both. Yeah. If you have an idea, you do your research to validate the idea. So if you remember, I was showing you something. Let me see if I have it open. If you look at these guys here, or not this one, I think it's user tests, user interviews, I think. Yeah. If you look here, you see, in this section here, there's something they said around a hypothesis. Yeah. So it means that we have an idea. We believe that if we do this and do this, this will happen. That is hypothesis, right? But that hypothesis is just an hypothesis. It's just a hypothesis. It doesn't mean that it's true. The only way we can validate that it's true is by carrying out research, by testing out maybe a prototype or a design, or asking people questions that, that's how we validate whether the assumption or the hypothesis is valid or not. So we do research for that purpose. We do research if there is a problem and we are trying to come up with a solution to that problem. The solution doesn't have to be technology solution. It could be a process change. It could be a people change, whether we need to add more people to the team, or we need to reduce the team size, or we need to go higher. It could be a technology solution. A solution can be any of those three: process, people, and tech, right? So it doesn't have to be tech only, but of course, most of the time is usually related to tech we're talking about. So we have a problem, or we've identified a problem. We want to come up with a solution. But in order for us to, first of all, understand whether that problem is actually a problem, we need to do some research. When we do some research and we recognize, and research confirms to us that yes, this is a problem that needs solving, then we can then research as well to test that the solution we are coming up with actually meets the needs or solves that problem. So we do research for that purpose as well. If we are already in flight, let's say you come in between in a project, the project's already started, you joined, and then you are wondering why we're doing research. We are doing research because as we are going along and building and iterating and making our product better, we want to make sure that our users are in the loop of our development cycle, so that there are no surprises that, oh, what are you guys doing? We don't want to do waterfall where we do it and then we should be chucking over the fence, whether they like it, they don't like it, we force it down their throats. No. Now we have to involve our users in that development life cycle. As we build, we iterate, we test, we design with them, we build with them, we launch with them, so that they are already familiar with our product. No surprises. So I would say yes for both, or even more than those scenarios. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question for me, actually?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Victor.
No worries at all. No worries. All right. Guys, listen, thank you. It's been really amazing spending the evening with you guys.